welcome to this review of my Dell AT101W, the first of my video review remakes. This was the first board I ever reviewed, which was well over 2 years ago, and ever since I reviewed it I've acquired over 150 keyboards more, so I have a lot more knowledge and materials for comparison, not to mention better filming tools and editing experience. The AT101 family has quite a few different models and I own every single one of them except one. I've given away or disassembled tons of these too. I must have had several dozen over time. The AT101W was my third ever mechanical keyboard and I got this one brand new in box shipped for just £11. Back in the days it was still an extremely cheap board. However, ever since I published 2 videos on how to modify this board, which became quite popular, the prices on eBay have inflated massively. Previously, people could barely give these away. Now they routinely get listed for $50 or more. This is one of the board's big strengths though. It's tactile by default, but you can easily click mod or linear mod it without needing special parts or tools, and the chassis offers a solid modern platform for swapping any kind of Alps or Matthias switch into. Combined with its easy availability, Dell had millions of these made, and its fairly decent overall performance, I maintain this is one of the best starter boards you can get. Just to clarify, this video will be about the last version they ever made, manufactured by Silatech in Malaysia, recognizable by its FCC ID GYM90SK. I'm guessing that's basically Silatech's internal code for the Model 90 keyboard. The previous versions, the M92, M95, M97 and the original Alps made versions were all increasingly older and better, but none of them were nowhere near as common as the 90 model. Eventually I'll be doing separate videos about the Model 97 and the Alps made version, and maybe one about the family as a whole at certain points in the future. I tend to refer to all models in the entire family as AT101 though, even the ISO AT102 and JIS AT103 models. So starting up with the construction, the AT101 is a fairly sturdy chassis, and it's well built. The outer case is pretty tough plastic, and the switches are mounted in a thick metal mounting plate and backed by a PCB. Solid stuff. It weighs a respectable 1.4 or so kilos, and the whole thing feels well built and doesn't flex a lot. It's also pretty enormous, 47.2 by 21.2 centimeters, which led to its moniker, the Dell Bigfoot. Although I have bigger keyboards, the Bigfoot, along with the IBM Battleship, is one of my main benchmarks for large keyboard sizes. The chassis is held together quite well, but the entire structure overall, including the keycaps, does something strange to typing noises, which become somewhat hollow and plasticky. Even older models of the same keyboard don't have quite the same quality of sound to them, and it partially persists when you transplant different switches into it. It's got simple flip-out feet of a particularly common variety under it, which work fairly well, and a 3-way cable cutter you can use to guide the cable to your PC and secure it with a minimum of being in the wayness. It's an old feature, but still useful. Overall, it has pretty damn good build quality, and this paired with its modern, standard 104 key layout, pretty rare for an Alps keyboard, and extreme abundance, this makes it a prime candidate for modding. 2 small problems are that the sound isn't the best among the many boards Alps had made, and second, opening the case is a bit tricky because the clips holding the case together can snap off damn easily if you're not careful, so watch out for that. It's still held together by good old screws though, so it's not that big of a deal if the clips do break. It comes with a PS2 cable that you can natively use if you've got a PS2 port in your computer, but if that's not the case you'll need an active converter to convert it to USB before you can use it. On a side note, I really like the shape of the case with its upward swooping curve, the big bezel, the big Dell logo, and its overall look. It's not exactly small in size, but I think it has a very elegant touch to it that looks good on any desk. It looks particularly sexy and evil in black, although that version is considerably rarer and generally more pricey as well. The switches it uses are black Alps of the late variety, also known as bamboo switches. The bamboo switches can be distinguished from the earlier pine switches by the lack of slits in the top housing. These later bamboo switches are generally considered to be inferior to their earlier pine counterparts. The switches are fairly stiff at around 75 grams of force, and they have a rather rough key feel. The tactile bump feels stronger than, for example, Cherry MX Brown, but it doesn't feel very refined, especially if you compare it to earlier generation tactile Alps switches, such as Salmon and Orange, and it's not as sharp as it is with clicky Alps, which feel considerably different. It's not a bad feel, I'd still say it's better than any Cherry switch, but if you compare it to other Alps switches, even just the early Pine Black Alps, it's kind of the black sheep of the family. Get it? It's still not a particularly good tactile switch in my opinion now. It's not bad or anything, but I've seen much better. Moreover, clickifying them makes them feel and sound considerably better. And if you linearize them, you get extremely smooth and pleasant linear switches. As it happens, this one is from 2001, making it one of the youngest documented complicated Alps boards out there. And because this one is new old stock, it's ultra clean and it still feels pretty good, but a major disadvantage of Alps switches is that they really don't like dirt or dust or heavy use. All Alps switches feel terrible when this happens, but it's especially nightmarish with black Alps, which when dirty become one of the worst feeling switches around. Conversely, Cherry switches don't have this problem anywhere near as much, so while you can buy old Cherry boards without too much worry, when you're buying Alps, always keep in mind that it has to be only lightly used and pristine clean, or your board will feel like total fucking shite. The keycaps are thin lasered ABS. They're cheap and known to yellow badly over time, as you can see with this M95, or unevenly as with this M92. The caps are not the worst, and I like the font on them, but considering this board's modern layout, it lends itself especially well to custom keycap sets. You can also stick some older keycaps on them, like original Taiho double shots from a focus board on them. Look at the difference in quality on the lettering there. Another funky thing, note that all the keycaps on the bottom row are convex, whereas it's normally just a spacebar. That seems to be kind of a Dell thing, they did that on later keyboards as well. Overall, while definitely not endgame material, I still maintain this should be everyone's first board. It's tactile by default, but easy to modify to linear or clicky. The linear mod is even reversible, so it gives you a good indication of what you like in a keyboard. And it's sturdy, easy to convert if necessary, and it's got a perfectly workable modern layout. Although I think the keyboard, particularly the linear version, is really nice for gaming, it does only have 2 key rollover, so some combinations of keys will get blocked while playing. It never bothered me much, but some people have reported that this does occasionally get in the way. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.